So the tabernacle has a very special place in my heart, in the sense that the very first group Bible study I did when I was still in South Africa was on the tabernacle. And for me, I would just say that, I mean, and it's the tabernacle, so this sounds cheesy, but it was a gateway for me to really almost take my understanding of scripture to a deeper level. So whenever there is opportunity to study the tabernacle from different perspectives, from different lenses, and to just gain deeper and deeper understanding, I jump at that. And so when people were looking for a topical study, I was like, how about the tabernacle? Because it really is, studying the tabernacle for me always just reveals new truths, new, like, amazing nuggets of God's goodness and the fulfillment of his promises. So that for me is why I have a special kind of bent to study the tabernacle. And also because when you really study the tabernacle, it takes it beyond just trying to go through all of the cubits and no, not even ounces. What is it? Cubits and shekels and
right, all of those weird measurements.
all of those weird measurements.
The
And
numbers and the genealogies
yeah.
are usually the parts we skip over scripture, but right, go ahead. Yeah.
No, and that's exactly when I first put it towards everyone. They were like, "Oh, so is it the chapters where it's around the measurements and the height and the weight of everything?"
And are
And
we gonna get a test on it at the
yeah,
end? Are we gonna get
and then I'm
tested?
like, "Oh, but," and then I always have to apologize. I'm like, "Sorry, guys, I'll get off my preachy soapbox now." But then I just gave myself for why I love the tabernacle and how it points to Jesus and everything. And then I'd finished, and they're like, "Okay, we can do that study. Yeah, we can go through the
Because that's the
tabernacle."
thing. It's not about the numbers or the measurements or the size or
Oh,
anything. It's really about Jesus. That's the thing.
yes,
I mean, that study points you to Jesus. It's called
oh,
centering on Christ because it's all
yes,
about him. It really is. And that's what the parts we miss, because the tabernacle really, to me, it's one of my favorites, because in all of the Old Testament, it's one of my favorite things to study, because, I mean, all of the Old Testament points to Christ. Okay, but when you realize the depth that God has put into pointing to Christ through the tabernacle, it just blows my mind. And I love
blows
it, right?
my mind. And the perfection with which it points to Christ. I think the intentionality with which it points to Christ. Like, it's not like okay, here's your puzzle for the day. It's called the tabernacle. And if you can, you'll figure out maybe where there's some insinuations how it points to Christ. No, it's like when you study the every element. I mean, yeah.
It's a
Anyway,
little in your face, actually, right?
yes, and then it's like, oh my word, that's amazing.
It's not very subtle. God is shouting pretty loud and clear about Jesus in the tabernacle.